You hear me? Okay, so I'm in private practice for 25 years. My specialty is cataract and refractive surgery. Done over about 27,000 cataract surgeries in my career, and so recently we've implemented Pentacam technology integrated with femtosecond laser for astigmatism treatment with the LENSAR platform. And so with their new Streamline 3 and soon Streamline 4, I'm going to go over some of my data and some of the advantages of utilizing Pentacam technology with the LENSAR. It's been pretty exciting, actually. Makes my life a lot easier as a cataract refractive surgeon. So how does Pentacam work? For those who have it, it's a slip beam through a thin slice of the anterior portion of the eye. It's Scheimpflug imaging, just like the LENSAR, which is really nice. So both devices use Scheimpflug imaging. If you know what Scheimpflug, it positions at a 45-degree angle, takes several cross-sectional images, and it rotates 360 degrees, so you get like a 3D image pretty much of what you need to look at. And so it reconstructs a 3D model of the anterior segment of the eye. There's an iris camera, which will detect for eye movements and makes corrections to the 3D model in case somebody's got little movements. The Pentacam provides several measurements, and I utilize all the measurements in my analysis to help me actually select which even lens implant to pick, besides using it for astigmatism guidance and management for my refractive cataract patients. So it looks at anterior corneal power. It accounts for posterior corneal effects. You can get total corneal power, which is very important. It looks at higher order aberrations. It looks at spherical aberrations specifically. It looks at chord U, which refers angle kappa, which is the difference in the angle from the pupillary to the visual axis. That's important when you're talking about multifocal IOLs or extended depth of focus lenses. So it has a lot of information. I'll show you on my last slides, specifically case examples, how I look at a patient and how I utilize in determining what lens to use and how to use it with the LENSAR. And so here's an example of just lower order aberrations are just probably pretty much your astigmatism, defocus, myopia, hyperopia. Our higher order aberrations are coma, trefoil, and spherical aberrations. Spherical aberration being the most important, because if people have high corneal spherical aberration in picking a monofocal lens, you need to know, should I use a zero aberration lens like an Invista MX60, or should I use, if somebody has positive spherical aberration where you can correct some of it with a minus spherical aberration monofocal lens. You have to decide what lens to use. Knowing this information will determine, can I use a multifocal, and if not, which monofocal to use. So it's very specific in giving you concrete objective data. It's a beautiful thing. Angle kappa is, between 2 and 5 degrees. It's that chord U pupillary difference from visual axis. The nice thing is when I do LENSAR, it actually allows me to align the capsulotomy on the visual or pupillary axis. So when I'm doing a multifocal or extended depth of focus lens, I always put it on the optic or visual axis, because with a multifocal lens, you don't want to induce any more aberrations. So it's nice to know if somebody has a high angle kappa or not in terms of placing the lens and knowing if they even qualify for a lens. The tolerance for multifocals or extended depth of focus lenses depends on the degree of angle kappa. The higher the angle kappa, the less tolerance there is in terms of aberrations and visual aberrations post-operatively. So I look at my cutoff. It depends really on the lens you're choosing. If you're picking like a low-at multifocal, your tolerances are better than the original multifocals. Extended depth of focus has even a higher tolerance. So there are tables and graphs that will give you data that Oculus has, depending if it's a 0.6, a 0.7, a 0.3, what the angle cap is, to know what the tolerance is. I use my cutoff as like 0.6. Anything over 0.6, I tend not to use any of those technologies. I might use an accommodating IOL or just go back to a toric IOL, monofocal or regular monofocal, spherical, aspheric lens. So again, we talk about you get anterior, posterior cornea. You can all the images go through the central cornea. Obviously, if you have a corneal opacity, you're going to get distortion, but that's any topography system. So it will show irregular astigmatism. You should be able to detect it at the slit lamp. If you have EBMD, epithelial basement membrane dystrophy, you'll pick it up. It will suggest there might be an abnormality. So re-look at the slit lamp at the cornea to know maybe I shouldn't put an advanced lens in. because somebody might have some subtle epithelial basement membrane dystrophy, which will actually harm your visual outcome post-operatively. And measurements are not tear film dependent. That's probably one of the best things about Pentacam that I like. I have other devices in my practice that are all tear film dependent. So if people have poor ocular surface, you don't get good data. So if I know I have somebody with ocular surface disease compromise, I'm probably going to trust this image the best. Obviously, you still have to treat it and assess it and treat it to get good outcomes, but at least you're going to get good data so you get to pick a proper lens implant. But if you don't have a good topography image, you get poor data and poor IOL selection parameters, and the power of the lens will be off. So it's good to have a beauty about the Pentacam. It's not tear film dependent. I love that about it. And so many people are in my office, they go through like 7 tests. So by the time they're on the 7th test, their eyes are drying out. So this machine doesn't require a perfect tear film to get good data. So that's important. It's funny, a fun fact. So I use LENSAR and I use Pentacam. I like this picture. They both use Scheimpflug imaging. So that's a standard camera. Scheimpflug gets a full gamut. It's a full 3D image of everything from one end to the other. So we're looking at the cornea, you're getting it from limbus to limbus. You're not just getting one rock, you're getting the entire picture. So it creates 3D imaging through Scheimpflug, and they both do that. So they kind of match really well. It's important when you use similar technologies when you're planning astigmatism treatment in cataract surgery. So why were there 1,386,254.5 diopters of astigmatism not corrected this last year? That's a lot of that's a lot of people could have had some benefit from these technologies. I mean, that tells you how many people can have astigmatism treatment. It's a cool little stat. Well, it's prevalent. 70 to 90% of people are in that sweet spot up to $1.50 that can have astigmatism treatment. Why aren't we treating more astigmatism patients? You know, we have the technology. You have Pentacam. We have LENSAR. Inconsistent outcomes. AIs, are they an art? Toric IOL alignment's not precise. Is it time consuming? Is it lack of confidence? Well, the good news is between Pentacam and its awesome Scheimpflug imaging and now LENSAR going through 4 upgrades and soon a 5th upgrade on 2 years, it's evolved. I like this, it's pretty funny. I like that. It's kind of the evolution of femtosecond technology. But first one was Streamline 1, it enabled wireless with Cassini, which that is a tear film dependent device. I do have it. Intel Axis C is mapping steep axis, making marks on the cornea for toric IOL alignment. That was finally available with OPD3. Again, that's a tear film dependent device. And then finally, Streamline 3 enabled wireless registration to avoid iris, to avoid cyclorotation errors using Pentacam. You can also do USB with Topcon Aladdin overseas. But in the United States, it's Cassini, OPD3, and now Pentacam. Soon coming out, releasing at this meeting, they're going to do Intel Axis L steep axis capsular marks. There'll be marks on the capsule. So getting accurate data with the Pentacam to know where to put the steep axis on those marks will be really important. So that's the next generation. Because sometimes marking the cornea, it's hard to see in surgery. So marking them on the capsule is going to be a really neat technology going forward. But you need a device that gives reliable alignment, steep axis for toric IOL alignment. So preoperative diagnostic, so here's what it is. All these devices, specifically we're talking about Pentacam, either the AXL or HR. I have the HR in my practice. Streamlines with the LENSAR in a wireless iris registration format. So a patient gets their picture taken upright, seated at the Pentacam device in the office. It's stored. You'll do all your planning, which I'm going to show you on the last slides, and it'll wirelessly send it to the LENSAR and do your whole astigmatism guidance treatment based on pre-op sitting upright positions. When a patient lays down, it adjusts for cyclorotation errors automatically. It's pretty cool. LENSAR with Streamline IV, well, it increases patient flow and OR efficiency. I have the LENSAR in my operating room. We still do about 4 cases an hour. It doesn't slow me down. That's 1.5 minutes, but it saves me on the back end. I have less time in the eye because I save time by doing everything up front with advanced technology. So in the end, I'm still doing about the same number of procedures. Everything's automated. This is a pretty neat slide because it shows how fast it is. So the iris registration feature allows for compensation for cyclorotation. It happens very fast. Doesn't matter if it's low or high amounts of astigmatism. You don't have to ink mark anymore. All those ink marks always wash off anyway. It's a nightmare. And so I think it'll show me how fast it is here. Oh, that'll be the next slide. For exporting it, it's a simple thing. You either do it wireless or with USB. My technicians have no problem. It's very simple. I'll let you take that. So that's from the Pentacam. I don't do that part. My technicians, I have one person dedicated who works with Pentacam and with my LENSAR. She goes to surgery with me. This shows you how the iris registration process works. So this is upright, undilated. This is dilated in surgery when they're laying down. So it adjusts for cyclorotation. You'll see how fast it is. There it is. That's how fast it happens in surgery. You blink, it's done. So it's pretty cool technology. So you saw how much rotation there was from sitting upright to laying down. You know, for every degree of cyclorotation area, you lose up to 14% of effect. So it could be significant loss of effect. So I have very good confidence when we're doing this. I don't have to mark eyes. It's very fast. You have to have a nomogram now to treat your astigmatism after. So this is a study Rob Weinstock did showing how often cyclorotation occurs. And so it happens a lot. I mean, if you look at cyclorotation, only 4% of eyes in left and 1% had no rotation. Everybody else has rotation. Well, every time I rotate, you lose effect. And you wonder why, well, the patient's not happy post-op. Well, if you're left with a diopter of astigmatism or 0.75, you know, that's not good. That's time, chair time, another procedure. So it's great to know that this technology has impact immediately when you get it and start doing your cataract surgeries when you're treating astigmatism. So I think we talked about this already. Let's get to some cases. Oh, I have my nomogram. You have to have a nomogram built into the laser. So I have my own. The LENSAR actually will create a nomogram for you based on your treatment. As you enter data, it will create a nomogram for you if you don't have one. Or you can use somebody else's nomogram. LENSAR provides it and they'll put it in the system for you. So you can have an AI, femtosecond AI nomogram immediately, and it will also take your own data and create a nomogram based on your technique over time. So it's kind of nice. So the engineers there have done a great job. Looking at my data, it was a small sample, like 30 eyes, or 51 eyes, and I'll show you the end result. Everything pre-op, post-op, pretty tight, diopter, pretty consistent statistically using the wireless iris registration. So it's been nice. I mean, we're doing bigger sample data sizes, but it works no matter what. I don't open my incisions. That's my technique. I wait till a month if I open. A lot of surgeons open on the table. But just what I say, always be consistent. So you need to have, I always say do everything by 50 eye increments. Don't change something until you analyze it on 50 eyes because you won't know what worked or what didn't work. So that's my advice. Here's some case examples. So on the Pentacam HR, this is the screen I look at. It's called Cataract Preop. And this is the LENSAR screen when I go to surgery. So I'm looking here at SIM-K, which is anterior cornea versus total cornea power. And I'm looking at the amount of astigmatism. So in this case, they're about the same. So usually, you know, against the rule, you need to treat more, with the rule, a little less. In this case, it tells me truly what it is. So we decided to do anterior. So it was 1 diopter SIM-K. I tell my technician on my little cheat sheets, she already has everything entered based on the patient. She does the drop down, Pentacam, the pre-op data source. She clicks on that. And the next slide It shows residual be 0.1, and when you click over here, you click, it comes up which nomogram. I have my own nomogram. They click it, 2 arcs or 1 arc, it puts it in, and you're good to go. So it's pretty cool. So this is me pre-op in the office deciding for the patient what I'm going to do. My staff has a sheet for all my patients. I'll put AIs, Pentacam, SimK, or total, and then she enters it in the OR right before I come in the room, but she knows what I want, and that's drop down, and then I walk in the room, I look, I verify my sheet, do surgery.
Cord view's not on that display.
Cord view's not on that display. Nope. Yeah. But I just took the one piece that I look at everything. I have everything in my EMR to look at everything, but I want to show you where this comes from here, so that you kind of know where it relates to. If we're doing what we do as even though I have EMR, she'll print my IOL Master 700. She'll print this sheet for that eye, and so I walk in the room, I can verify lens implant, and I can verify what we're doing in
the IOL Master and the Pentacam come out pretty much.
Yeah, pretty good. It's awesome. Yeah. So, but I do all my guidance from Pentacam for astigmatic treatments. I use IOL Master for IOL power. I know they have the Pentacam AXL. I don't have experience with that. I only have the HR, but that's what I do, okay? But I use this solely for my astigmatism, astigmatic incisions, okay? And so, again, I'm looking here, 0.8, 0.7, not a big difference from anterior, from total cornea. So I looked at everything on the patient. I ended up doing the anterior 0.8. And so next screen, I click here, the nomogram, I hit Jackson nomogram, it's mine. You can have any nomogram in there. It's a 1-button push. I want 1 single arc, so I make sure it does a single arc. Otherwise, it can accidentally try and do an arc through your incision if you don't do that. And then I'm done. We go to surgery. And then this is like my fragmentation pattern. Do I want a capsulotomy? So it shows my fragmentation pattern, my astigmatic. I don't do an incision typically with the laser, but if you do, it will show it. So it'll highlight it if you pick it, that's CCI. So that's how I take it from the Pentacam screen and then how it relates to the laser. So it's really cool. It's very easy. It's not a lot of brain thinking. As long as your technician you have to decide pre-op what you want to do. When you do you're picking all your lenses ahead of time. All my done in the office or at home. Surgery day, I say just do it. Thinking day is pre-op. I don't think the day of. I'll do like 0.3 if I think it's needed. I'll go as high as 1.5. It depends on if I'm trying to. We have legal to drive. We have Forever Young. Hey, Lewis, how you doing, man? How you doing, Lou?
Good to see you. Okay.
Do you use Pentacam? Do you streamline with LENSAR?
I don't use LENSAR, I use Pentacam.
Okay, there you go. Well, he does refractive.
Yeah.
He uses Pentacam.
Didn't want to interrupt.
No problem. So when I'm looking at everything, it depends on the patient. We have various. So we call our basic LENSAR, where I do AIs, but I don't promise a refractive outcome. I still say glasses. I have a legal to drive option. That was a Jim Loden created that. I give him credit. It's awesome. Because we don't talk about, I don't like talking like medical, technology. I just say, I'm going to give you driving vision. So that means I decide, is it a toric IOL with guidance from Pentacam for the IntelliAxis, or is it an AI with guidance from Pentacam to create the AI? Either way, I'm treating their astigmatism and getting them driving vision. But I have no chair time with patients. I say, I'm just going to give you driving vision. Another one was created by my spouse, my CO. It's called Forever Young. That's our presbyopia IOL correction. Nobody understands what presbyopia is. So we say, do you want to be forever young? So we say we're going to pick a lens. That way I get to pick the lens, not the patient. And I decide if it's going to be a toric or non-toric, EDOF, or accommodating a true line, active focus toric. I'll decide. I'll use the data from the Pentacam. If it's astigmatism, if I'm going to do an AI or a guidance for toric, I just go by there, and that's where I put my IntelliAxis marks. So it's kind of nice. So it all depends. My upper limit on somebody I'm not guaranteeing a refractive outcome, I might do AI is on a 2.5 diopter, just to lessen it.
Sure.
But if I want to get an outcome where I'm going to promise them driving vision, it's probably 1.5. Probably that area I start to go to a toric because I want to make sure I get it. So it really depends on the patient. And I'm looking at total versus anterior cornea and seeing how much I have to treat. So it's very reliable. We're going to have a big data source soon from Pentacam with Streamline.